Hello, friends. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Brain Food. You might have noticed I missed last week. I was in Kentucky with my dad and my brother doing another Bourbon Trail trip. If you stay to the end of the video, I'll show a couple of pictures from that trip. But the Brain Food this week is it's inspired by a good friend of mine, Michelle Keller. We were having coffee recently, and she said something that became one of those golden nuggets for me of, oh, this is one of those core truths people should have in their back pocket for certain situations. And what she said was, describe the outcome, don't prescribe the journey. So I had to think about that for a second. And in the moment, we were talking about certain situations with employees and things like that. But what she meant by that is describe what you're trying to accomplish or what you want the employee to accomplish, and don't worry so much or get too caught up in how they're doing the work to get to the outcome that you're desiring. And that just hit me because it's a personal life and a business life thing for me. So let me talk real quickly about the personal life. And I have to make one up because Trista wouldn't appreciate it if I brought one of our real things that we've had arguments or disagreements about into my YouTube videos. So I'm going to make this one up of doing the leaves in the yard together. So for example, when I do the leaves in the yard, I get a leaf bag. I have a little thing that holds the leaf bag open. I will blow the leaves with my blower and then rake them into the bag, that kind of a thing. It's very fast, very efficient. Let's say, for example, Trista decided to have the leaf bag way away from where the leaves were, and she would go grab a thing of leaves with the rake and walk them over and dump them in the bag and then walk back and get them. And she would never do that. She's smart and likes to be efficient as well. But let's say that was happening. The thing for me that I've had to learn in my personal life with lots of different situations is what matters the most is the leaves get cleared up. That's what matters most, is that the leaves get cleared up. It's not how it happens. And the other thing I've learned in this process, let's say that situation was a real situation with Tristan, how she picks up the leaves. It might be the way she grew up doing leaves with her dad, and that just makes her feel connected to her dad and how she's picking up the leaves. Or she might be doing it on purpose to get extra steps because she gets a ton of steps on her Fitbit every day. And it could be one of those ways she's getting extra exercise, even though it might look to the outsider that she's wasting energy. She might be doing it, listening to music or something while she's doing it, walking back and forth and getting something done while getting some steps in. So there's a lot of things about that personal situation where all I should care about is that the leaves are getting picked up. And we usually do that stuff together anyway, so it's not something but that was a good example. That's one I came up with that I thought might describe and illustrate that for the personal life side. On the business side, you can make the comparison for that too, right? So if you have an employee that is doing something and you see how they're doing it, we all have this inclination to jump in and say, hey, you should be doing it this way. That way's not the best way. And ultimately, what you care about is that the work gets done by the employee. And this is a good segue. I'm going to talk about this in a second, about the efficiency of the process being an issue. And I get that. But at a high level, if you take pulse of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis with your employees or your staff or in your own business work, are you getting too caught up with how other people are doing things instead of focusing on the results of the work that they're doing? And I don't know the answer for you. For me, I know that when Mick and I worked together for many years, he got the work done. He might not have always gotten it done efficiently, in my opinion, but he got the work done and still had plenty of balance in his life and wasn't working 60-hour weeks and things like that. So I think it's important to have that high-level idea of describe the outcome. Don't prescribe the journey. Don't tell them how they have to do it, because that's the way you would do it, or it's more efficient. What you should care more about is the outcome. But the quick nod to the efficiency thing, the thing I get hung up with is if I see a situation in my personal life with Trista or family or whatever, or at business things with clients, and I see them doing something. For example, let's say an employee decides that they need to take this PDF document that they have, and they need to capture the words from that PDF document. It's on a printed page. And so they sit down to type the whole thing in, a couple pages of text. Instead of just scanning it in and turning on OCR, which is optical character recognition, almost every scanner can do that. I have one sitting on my desk right now. It's a Fuji Fujitsu ScanSnap, and it will do OCR of PDF documents in a heartbeat. So instead of spending that 15 minutes, even if they're a really good typist, 90 words a minute or something, they're typing all this stuff in instead of just scanning a couple sheets in and it doing the work for you, and then you just kind of proof it. So in that situation, if I see opportunities to help people be more efficient, I will speak into that and say, you might consider, I'm not trying to, I even say, especially with Trista, I'm clear with her, I try to be. I'm not trying to tell you how to do this, but have you ever thought about doing this? And most of the time she'll come back with, yes, I've thought of that, and this is why I'm doing this, and and it totally makes sense. I'm like, see, that's why I need to be careful, because she's got a reason for her method, and it's okay because she's going to get to whatever outcome we both need her to get to. Same with me. Oh my gosh. I mean, we do it with each other. But I think it's important to focus more on the outcome than the journey. So that was my brain food for today. I hope that gets you thinking about how you're doing things in your personal life with the people you care about, and in your business, trying to balance how you're helping them be efficient and help them do things in a better way, in your mind, better way, versus letting them do the way they want to do it and getting to the outcome that you want. I think it's more important to get to the outcome. So if you've stuck with me this long, I'll do a quick run through. I'll throw some of these pictures up on the screen when I do the editing of this video. So we got to Kentucky, my dad and my brother and I, and the first night we got there, we ate at a really good fish restaurant. So I'll throw a picture up of us at the bar having a beer together. And then we went to lots of different distilleries. One of the things my dad loves about Kentucky is there's this German restaurant in Lexington. I don't know if you guys know this. I was born in Berlin. Dad was in the Army. So for some reason, we've just always loved German food. And so it's a big deal to go to this German restaurant. This is our second year going, and we had to go back because this German restaurant's great. So I'll throw a couple pictures up of the food that we had at the German restaurant. Dad looks super happy being there. And then we went to Buffalo Trace pretty much every morning, the distillery. I'll throw a couple pictures up of Buffalo Trace. And when we got in line, I think one of the things that bourbon people that are still watching this would care about is, it's very interesting that last year to this year, the number of allocated bottles or special bottles we had access to last year was triple what we found, more than that probably, than we found this year. There's an obvious, so many people are getting into bourbon, and it's the allocated stuff's becoming so much harder to find. So what we had to do was stand in line at Buffalo Trace, and they would release a special bottle each day and only a certain amount of it. So you had to get there pretty early. We were there at least an hour ahead of time. And so for the people that know bourbon, we got an E.H. Taylor and an Eagle Rare by waiting in line. And then we paid for an event at Heaven Hill where we were able to fill our own barrel proof Larceny or Elijah Craig or Bernheim. And so I chose a Larceny barrel proof. So those were the three special kind of allocated bottles that I got: an Eagle Rare, E.H. Taylor, and a Larceny barrel proof. But the best experience, well, before I talk about that, we went to Keeneland to do something a little different than just keeping going to distilleries the whole time. Keeneland's one of the premier racetracks in the country for horse racing, and I'll throw a couple pictures up of the tour that we took. We took a behind-the-scenes tour of Keeneland and saw the jockey room and the track and different things like that. It was very interesting. I'm not a huge horse racing fan, but actually seeing all that and hearing the history actually got me a little bit more interested in that. It was really cool. And then the most important thing to say is that the best experience we had is that we got to go to this distillery that has a bunch of barrels that you literally use a brass, it's called a thief. It's this long, basically brass straw with a hole on the end that you can put your thumb over. You dip it down into the barrel and then pull up a little bit. It's like siphoning gas or something. You pull it out and you pour a little bit into a cup and you taste it right out of the barrel. And then you get to pick. Either you can blend barrels or you can pick specifically a single barrel to pull a bottle out of, and they'll bottle it up and you get to pick the shape of the bottle, the labels on the bottle, just all the detail about that. And we just had such a good time doing that process. It's the only place I've found in Kentucky that lets you do this kind of thing. And yeah, the reason I'm not mentioning the name is because it's a really good secret. If you really want to know, hit me up after the fact, and I'll tell you the distillery. If you're going to go to Kentucky, hit me up through either a chat, a message on YouTube, or send me an email or text me or something like that, depending on what contact information you have for me. So we had a great time and got some good bottles, but most importantly, we spent time together as family, my dad, my brother, and I, going and doing some fun things together. So thanks if you're still watching, thanks so much. I really appreciate you being part of this journey with me. If you think that you've got a friend that could benefit from the brain food, or somebody that you know that loves bourbon, throw this video at them to have them take a watch. Maybe they'll become part of my community as well. I hope you're having a great week. I'll see you next week.